the NFL draft rapidly approaching, CJ Stroud has picked up a lot of steam to be in contention for this year's QB1. Many are stating that Stroud is the favorite to go number 1 overall to the Carolina Panthers. With that being said, I wanted to talk about CJ Stroud and take a deeper look into his film to see if this is justified or if scouts are getting a little too carried away by the one game versus Georgia and the Combine. Carolina and Stroud are a great pairing. I would be encouraged by his outlook if this is where he landed. The only concern at this point would be the team around him with DJ Moore shipped out and a lack of premium draft capital over the next 3 years to change that. To me, though, I think Stroud is a great prospect, and he had his biggest game in his last game in college, which is what you want to see. With that being said, is he my quarterback 1? He's actually not, but he's my quarterback 2 behind Bryce Young, but it's close. Both are excellent prospects and are similar in a lot of ways, but Young is just a little bit more along the way developmentally. With that being said, let's get into the film breakdown and I'll show you why I feel this way. The first thing that I want to do is get into the one play that I think sums up who CJ Stroud is above all else. This play is an accumulation of his season. He gets a snap, and at the back of his drop, he doesn't have anywhere to go with the ball. He then drifts to the right to create space. He then processes the movement of his receiver downfield. What I mean by this is he sees Marvin Harrison Jr. breaking to the wrong pylon that he's moving towards. He gives a subtle hand gesture to redirect Marvin Harrison Jr. to the pylon that Stroud is navigating towards. When he sees this, the receiver changes course and sees Marvin Harrison Jr. has a step on his defensive back and puts this ball into the end zone with great placement, low and away from the defender, and the receiver makes the catch for a touchdown. The reason I chose this play is a variety of reasons. Stroud has good mobility inside and outside the pocket. He improved game after game operating outside of structure, with his best game being his last, this game against Georgia, and he has great accuracy to all levels of the field. This play demonstrated all of these things while at the same time showed what Stroud can be at the next level if he continues to develop. The first area of Stroud's game that I want to highlight is his accuracy. Stroud is easily one of the most accurate passes in this class, and this is the area of Stroud's game where he wins the most. On this first play, we're going to be looking at the top of the screen. We're going to be working this post wheel action. The outside receiver is going to be running the post with the slot running the wheel. Stroud gets the snap, sees the receiver has a step on the defensive back, and he's going to put this ball out there with great touch into the end zone. The placement on this ball is phenomenal as well. Stroud puts this right where it needs to be on the outside shoulder of his receiver so the defensive back can't get the pass breakup. Stroud routinely shows great accuracy in the red zone, and it has led to a great touchdown percentage for the Buckeyes when they're in the red zone. On the next play, I want to talk about Stroud's accuracy as a deep passer. On this play, we're looking at a cover 2 safety look with man on the outside. Stroud is going to get to the back of his drop, see the field side safety creep up towards this curl route. Stroud then realizes this means he's got man-to-man on the outside with this corner. At this point, the receiver has a half a step on the corner and has won this route. Stroud is going to locate that safety, plant that back foot, and rip this ball up the sideline on the go ball and drop it into this receiver. The processing here is what sets his play up for Stroud, though. From the end zone, we can see that he glances at this curl to bring the safety towards it. Once the safety opens up his hips towards that curl, Stroud then hitches, aligns himself to the right, and from a good base, throws a nice ball up the near sideline for a gain of 25, 30 yards. These are the kind of plays that we need to see to justify that potential number 1 overall pick discussion for CJ Stroud. So we've seen he's accurate in the short areas of the field, including the red zone. We've seen that he's an accurate passer in the deeper portions of the field. How about the intermediate levels of the field? These are the throws that require the greatest level of accuracy. This is because these throws often require high levels of touch and ball placement, as receivers don't come running wide open over the middle very often. On this play, I want to show you CJ Stroud has the intermediate touch and layer throws in his bag as a passer. On this play, we're going to see CJ Stroud target this deep over route with a nice layer throw behind the linebackers. What makes this play so impressive is all the defenders in the area when this ball gets to the receiver. For this to end up in a completion, Stroud has to get this ball over the linebacker's head, but it needs to drop fast enough that it needs to come down before the safety is able to make a break on the ball. Watching from the end zone angle, we see Stroud get to the back of his drop, and at this point we're starting our throwing motion. As you can see, we have a deep over coming across the field, but we have a linebacker underneath and a safety over the top. We're also going to have this off-cover corner drifting into the picture late. For this ball to be complete, this ball has to be made with pinpoint accuracy. As we let it play, we see this corner drift into the screen late. This ball is placed perfectly, just out of his hands here, and drops into the receiver's outstretched arms. These layer throws are next level throws that require quarterbacks to have special awareness and a high level of processing skills. Stroud shows his capabilities of this, and this is just one example of that. But now that we've established that he's able to make these intermediate and layer throws in addition to the short and deeper throws, what about the other throws that require subtle nuances? Like throwing while moving to your non-dominant side. As a right-handed passer, throwing while moving to the left is a difficult task. Stroud has shown that he's able to do this, but he still has some work to do to become more consistent in this area of his game, as there are good and bad instances in his tape, but he has improved as the season has progressed. For example, these clips I just played showed one successful event and one unsuccessful event. I want to show you why one worked and one did not. On the first play, watch how when he rolls out before making this throw, he squares his shoulders to the line of scrimmage and works his way downhill towards his target as opposed to drifting towards the sideline. These are the mechanics you want to see from a right-handed passer while navigating to the left. If they drift toward the sideline or don't square their shoulders, it can significantly impact the level of accuracy they're able to throw with because they're throwing across their body. It might look easy, but I assure you that throwing across your body like this on the move is no easy throw to make. On the second clip where the ball gets sent into the dirt, watch how he's not working downhill towards his target, but more so drifting horizontally towards the sideline. Additionally, watch how he doesn't fully get his shoulders squared to the line of scrimmage prior to making this throw. Finally, watch how he doesn't get his feet under him very much at all. When he throws his ball, both his feet appear off the ground to me. This is very hard to generate any velocity as now he's throwing off platform, actually with no platform, and across his body. I'll play each of them one more time side by side so you can see the difference. These subtle mechanics are the difference between sending a 3-yard hitch route into the dirt and throwing it incomplete, or throwing a 10-yard out route for a touchdown in the red zone. Like I said, he shows the capabilities of doing this, it just needs to become more consistent with Stroud. Moving on, I want to take a look at CJ Stroud's processing ability as a passer. The ability to process the offensive scheme and the defense's reaction is possibly the most important trait for a quarterback. On the first play, we see the defense is running a cover 2 look. Offensively, we have a cover 2 beater that is referred to as dagger. The principle of dagger is to run a clear route. It's often ran as a go or a post route, and this is to get that outside shade safety to carry over the top and vacate the middle of the field. Like I was saying, this vacates that middle hole in the center of the field for this deep dig route to fill in behind it. On this play, we're actually going to be running a double post variation of dagger paired with that deep dig. When we let this play roll, we see the design work perfectly. Our safety is carrying with the big post, and the deep dig is coming over the middle with plenty of grass open in front of him. I highlighted the open field in red. Stroud sees this, processes this, and gets the ball to the dig for a gain of about 20 yards. Dagger is a frequently used cover 2 beater in the NFL, and some players kind of struggle to process this in live time in game moments, but Stroud has showed the ability to process this in live time, in game moments, and that is very encouraging for me. So now we're going to be moving on to the next play, but we're going to stay in the same game against Penn State. Penn State again is going to be running a cover 2 look. This time we beat them, but in a different way. Against cover 2, the weaknesses are up the middle, between the 2 high safeties, and on the sideline for what is referred to as a hole shot. At the snap, we see the picture is going to change here on us. The original corner is going to bail and fill in the cover 2 look, while the original safety is going to be coming into the box area to play an intermediate zone. It's different how we got here, but it's still cover 2. What this does, though, is it leaves Marvin Harrison Jr., arguably the best receiver in the nation, unguarded on this go route. Stroud locates the safety movement, looks to the corner to see him filling the safety's position, and immediately takes his eyes to Marvin Harrison Jr. on the go route and finds him in the soft spot of the defense and throws a good, not great ball up the near sideline for a gain of about 20 yards. This play again showed great processing by Stroud as he was able to identify the defense's transition post-snap and diagnose where the ball needed to go based on this transition of the defense. Moving on to the next play, we're going to be getting into the Iowa game where Stroud is faced with a cover 3 look this time. Again, we're in an advantageous position here as we have double seams from the inside receivers. This is an ideal look versus play call as the weaknesses here are going to be between the cover 3 zones similar to what we saw in the cover 2 look. This is going to be essentially a pick your seam unless the safety chooses to shade in one direction over the other. In that case, you'd basically throw it away from the area in which he shaded to. Stroud gets the ball, and the safety splits the difference between the 2 routes. Stroud then looks to the far field seam and rips this for a gain of about 25 yards. This again was great processing by Stroud and shows that he understands the coverages that he's faced with and the weaknesses of each respective look. His ability to get through these progressions and get to that seam right away shows how quickly he processes these things mentally, and this was a quick diagnosis. On the next play, we're moving to the big game, college football semifinals against Georgia. On this play, we're running a variation of smash on both sides of the field. This is a really fun play, but it will most likely not be ran in the NFL. Let me kind of explain why. Smash is a concept that we're going to be using, and this is used in the NFL very heavily. This is not the aspect that is not going to be seen at the next level. Smash is essentially a high-low read where we have a short route paired with an intermediate or deep route. On this play, we have two corners paired with an out and a hitch route. These routes are not going to be the goal route here. We're faced with cover two safety, and these two cover two safeties are going to be carrying with these corners to vacate the middle of the field. That is the reason that we're running smash here. You might be thinking, but we don't have a route in the middle of the field. Wrong. The running back is going to be running a half-back seam and is going to be matched up one-on-one with this linebacker we can see in the middle of the field. As we let this play kind of play out here, we see the running back's going to beat the linebacker and stack on him downfield. The middle of the field is now vacated and wide open as we've had a parting of the seas downfield because of those corner routes versus that cover two look. Stroud sees this and again throws a good, not great ball to the running back who's running that seam route, and the running back's going to do the rest and score here. The reason we don't see this play very much in the NFL is because of how long it takes for a play like this to develop. You don't have this kind of time in the NFL in an NFL pocket. But again, this is good processing by Stroud to identify the safety's movements and see the vacated middle of the field and knowing that he has his running back open on the seam route here. For the next play, we're going to be going back to the Iowa game. The next part of his processing that I want to touch on is I want to show that he's capable of making full field reads. This is infrequent in his tape, as he wasn't asked to do it much during his time at Ohio State, but there are instances of both bad and good in his film. So with that being said, this is something that he's going to want to become more comfortable with. As transitioning to the NFL, he's going to be asked to make these kind of reads way more frequently. On this play, we're going to see a full field read as he starts to his right to read this fade route. He doesn't like the leverage of his receiver versus the corner and comes back to the near side of the field to this 7 route. He gets to the back side of this combination with great timing and gets the ball out with maybe a touch of anticipation here. The other impressive part of this play, though, is the fact that once he realizes he isn't going to be going to this fade route, he gives a subtle shoulder fake to get that safety to navigate towards the fade route and away from the near side 7 route. This play showed quite a bit for me. Like I said, the ability to read that full field, but also, just as impressive, the ability to use his eyes and body movements to manipulate second-level defenders was impressive here. On the next play, we're coming all the way back to the Penn State game where I want to show you Stroud's processing for throwing versus leverage downfield. On this play, Stroud has press coverage versus outside release go. As far as the safeties go, we're in cover 2 here. As I let this play out, we see this corner is in trail technique and does not get his eyes back at the quarterback. In this situation, the DB doesn't have his eyes on the ball and can't make a play if the ball's thrown. He's simply guarding whatever falls behind his frame when the ball gets there. Stroud realizes this and throws a back shoulder ball as he knows the defender is not going to be able to react and get his hands in the way to get a pass breakup. This was high-level processing and football IQ by Stroud, and again, another impressive display of real-time processing to read and react as quickly as he did. As far as issues that I have with Stroud's processing, I have a few. The first is when operating outside of the structure of the offense. When operating within the structure, Stroud is one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in class. But once he's asked to operate outside of the structure of the offense and play backyard football, for a lack of a better term, this is when his accuracy and decision-making take a noticeable decline. Stroud takes very good care of the football overall, but in these moments he becomes reckless. On this first play, we see him escape the pocket, which is good, but then he makes a careless decision to throw this ball to the back of the end zone and nearly throws a red zone interception here. The second play is dagger, similar to what we saw earlier with the clear route and the deep in route. It's open, but Stroud is forced off of his spot, so the timing is off. After Stroud is able to reset his feet, the timing is off and the defense has reacted and covered the deep in now. Stroud throws the ball anyway late, and the ball is intercepted by star linebacker Jack Campbell here. The final concern that I have with him is his willingness to stare down his first read, which has led to him missing open receivers downfield, like on this play that I'm showing you versus Notre Dame right now. He's going to take this hit regardless. His feet are already set. I would like to see him get this ball out to the corner here with a little bit of anticipation rather than just eating this sack. Now that I've pointed out some of Stroud's struggles when operating outside of the structure of the offense, I also want to grab some clips of him operating well. Stroud got better playing off script as the season went along. The inconsistencies slowly became fewer and farther between. This ultimately accumulated to the Georgia game in the college football semi-playoff game where he seemed to flip the switch. He had his hands down, best performance operating off script versus an elite defense on the biggest stage, and in his final live game that we were able to watch prior to draft night. In the Georgia game, Stroud operated well outside of structure, used his plus mobility to his advantage, and took good care of the football when forced to play off script. The best part of this game for Stroud, however, is the fact that it was the last game we've seen from him, and he basically took all the questions people had about him, and he said, here's your answer, I'm able to do that too. Unfortunately for Stroud, Ohio State was unable to win the game, and we did not get a chance to see him in the national championship, which would have helped his draft stock even more. I briefly touched on Stroud's mobility as a runner. Stroud is an above-average overall athlete who has good movement skills inside the pocket and can rush for first downs. He's not the type of player you're going to scheme many designed runs for, but he can get you yards with his legs for sure. Stroud did not weaponize his legs very much during the regular season, but this is because he didn't really have to due to how effective the Ohio State offense was. This changed in the Georgia game in the college football playoffs, where Stroud weaponized his legs and won in this aspect of the game, which you can see in the clips I'm showing you now. Stroud does really well to climb the pocket when pressure starts to bend on the edges of the pocket, and he finds escape routes when he has the chance to rush for first downs and keep drives alive. Once in the NFL, I look forward to Stroud utilizing his athleticism to his benefit more often. We've seen what a quarterback with rushing upside can do in the NFL from players like Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson and so on. Stroud is not the same level of athlete, and we cannot expect the same things from him that these two can do. But he has the rushing ability of a player like Joe Burrow or Dak Prescott, which is more than enough to pick up large gains on the ground when they're unaccounted for outside the pocket. As I mentioned, I think we're going to see this aspect of his game more often at the next level due to the fact he will be playing against a higher level of competition, and his offense will most likely not be far and beyond superior to the defense he's playing any given week, which will require Stroud to operate more as a playmaker for his offense. The next aspect of Stroud's game that I want to touch on is the ability to throw with anticipation. Throwing with anticipation is incredibly hard for a quarterback. You have to have near perfect timing, supreme confidence in your receivers, and the ball placement has to be pinpoint. Anticipatory throws are exactly what they sound like. They involve throwing the ball where your receiver is anticipated to be when the ball gets there, which is a tough task as typically in these situations, you're throwing the ball prior to your receiver leaving the stem of their route. So truly, you are anticipating where they're going to make their cut, where they're going to be breaking to, how the defender is going to position themselves, and where the ball needs to be to overcome that defender's leverage. On these clips that I've highlighted, you will see that he routinely makes these throws before the receivers leave the stem of their route. This puts an incredible amount of stress on a defense, as typically the most amount of separation achieved by a receiver during their route at any given time is at the stem. If the ball is out of Stroud's hands and nearly to the receiver at the stem of their route, it decreases the likelihood of an interception or a pass breakup. Playing defense against a quarterback who throws with a high degree of anticipation is extremely difficult and shifts the advantage significantly into the offensive favor. Stroud shows the ability to throw with anticipation, and he has room to grow in this area, but at this stage of his development, what I've seen from him is very encouraging and should make for a great foundation for him moving forward. After sharing all of my thoughts with you, I have finished my evaluation on CJ Stroud. After taking a look at both the good and the bad, I want to recap my thoughts. Stroud has the ideal size and frame for the position in the NFL. He has great character and leadership skills that will be great for an NFL locker room. His football IQ and instincts are a great asset to him and pair well with the way that he likes to play the game. Where he really separates himself is when it comes to his accuracy. He's arguably the most accurate quarterback in the class, or even last class for this matter. If he were in a 7-on-7 game or a flag football game, this guy would be the number one overall pick almost certainly. As an athlete, he brings plus overall ability to the position, and he's able to move within and outside the pocket extremely well, and has shown the ability to run for first downs when he's unaccounted for outside the pocket. As far as areas of growth, these concerns for the most part revolve around him not being asked to make many full field reads and primarily throwing to his first progression. Additionally, while he has shown the ability to make plays outside of the structure of the offense and improve in this area of the game, he did have vast inconsistencies throughout the season. This is something that he's going to want to work on to become more consistent at when he gets drafted. All in all, he's a great prospect who wins from the pocket, but is able to do some things outside of the pocket and win with his legs as well. Stroud is a high-level distributor for the position and should elevate the talent around him to a degree. With that being said, my player comparison for CJ Stroud was pretty clean, honestly. I have him compared to Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott, and I think you will find a very similar level of success to Dak at the next level. I believe his best fit is going to be with the Indianapolis Colts, although he will likely be a top 2 selection, which is going to make him a Panther or a Texan. I do think both of these landing spots would work out well as well. However, with Carolina trading significant draft capital to be in position to take Stroud, they are pretty deprived of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Miles Sanders is nice, but it looks like they're going to have a number 1 wide receiver of an aged Adam Thielen, which is not ideal. The Texans would be a better fit in my opinion, but we'll see what happens when the draft comes. In all, I came out with a grade of 93.4 for CJ Stroud, which clearly puts him in the early first round for me. With that being said, that's going to be a wrap on this video. Tell me your thoughts of CJ Stroud in the comments below. Where do you think that Stroud should get drafted, and what player comparisons have you came up for him? Like I said, that's all for today. We'll be catching you on the next one. If you liked this video, please consider liking and subscribing. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.